We didn't order anything for you, my wife said calmly as she and her friends dug into $1,100 Wagyu steaks at a fancy restaurant. I sat there with an empty plate while her sister smirked and whispered, "You should have eaten before you came." I just smiled and said, "Good to know." When the waiter returned, I looked him in the eye and said, "But before I begin, please like and subscribe to the channel. And we'd love to hear which part of the world are you joining us from. Let us know." Now, let's dive into today's story. The overhead fluorescence at the distribution center had burned Harry Hartman's eyes for 12 straight hours. His back ached from lifting boxes, his shoulders tight from repetitive motions that had become mechanical sometime around hour 8. The smell of cardboard, dust, and industrial cleaner clung to his work shirt, and when he clocked out at 7:15, the parking lot was already dark. He sat in his truck for a moment, engine running, heat blasting against the February cold. His stomach growled. He'd skipped lunch to finish a double load, eaten nothing but coffee and a protein bar at dawn. The plan had been to grab something quick on the way home, maybe a burger, maybe just leftovers from the fridge. Then his phone buzzed. "Don't forget, dinner tonight. 7:45, don't be late." Jean, his wife. No greeting, no question mark, just an order. Harry typed back, "Long shift. Can we do tomorrow?" The reply came in seconds. "No, already told everyone. Be there." He stared at the screen. The restaurant name followed. Some steakhouse near Lake Norman he'd never heard of. Expensive, probably. Jean liked expensive. She liked showing off, liked being seen, liked making sure everyone knew she could afford nice things, even when she couldn't. Harry drove there in silence, radio off, jaw tight. He thought about calling his brother, maybe venting for 5 minutes, but what would he say? That his wife ordered him to dinner without asking if he was tired? That she never asked anymore, just told? He'd sound weak. Or worse, he'd sound like he was complaining about nothing. So he drove. The restaurant sat in a strip of upscale shops, all brick and dark wood, with soft lighting spilling through the windows. Cars in the lot were clean, new German. Harry's truck looked out of place. He parked near the back, away from the entrance, and sat there a moment longer. His stomach cramped. He realized he was hungry enough that it hurt. He checked his phone. 7:43. If he went in now, he'd be on time. If he waited 2 more minutes, Jean would text him something sharp. He got out and walked toward the door. Inside, the air smelled like grilled meat and butter. The lighting was dim, almost too dim, the kind of atmosphere that made everything feel like a performance. Small candles flickered on each table. The chairs were high-backed, stiff, expensive-looking but uncomfortable. Soft music played from hidden speakers, something jazzy, something meant to make people feel sophisticated. Harry spotted Jean immediately. She sat at a corner table near the windows, laughing at something her sister Roxy had said. 2 other women sat with them, friends whose names Harry could never remember. One blonde, one brunette, both dressed like they were headed to a cocktail party instead of dinner. Jean wore a black dress, form-fitting, cut low enough to draw attention. Her hair was styled, makeup perfect. She looked good. She always looked good when other people were watching. Harry walked over, work boots quiet on the polished floor. "There he is," Roxy said, not bothering to hide the smirk in her voice. "Thought you weren't coming." "Got held up," Harry said. He pulled out the chair at the end of the table, the only empty seat. It faced away from the window, toward the kitchen doors. The worst seat. Of course. Jean didn't look at him right away. She finished her story, something about a sale at some boutique, and the table laughed. Then she glanced over, eyes scanning him from head to toe. "You're still in your work clothes. I came straight here. You couldn't change?" Harry sat down. Didn't have time. Roxy leaned back in her chair, swirling her wine. Must have been a rough day. It was fine. The blonde friend, Amy maybe, tilted her head. "What do you do again?" "Warehouse work," Harry said. "Oh." She said it the way people say, when they're trying not to sound judgmental, but failing. Jean picked up her menu, flipping through it like she was bored. "Let's order. I'm starving." The waiter appeared a moment later, young and polite, carrying a tray of water glasses. He set one in front of each person, then stood ready with a pen and pad. "Good evening, folks. Can I start you off with some appetizers? Or are we ready to order?" Jean didn't hesitate. I'll have the filet mignon, medium rare, and another glass of the Pinot Noir. Roxy went next. Ribeye medium, and keep the wine coming. The blonde ordered salmon. The brunette ordered pasta. Harry waited. No one ordered for him. The waiter looked at him, pen hovering. And for you, sir? Harry glanced at Jean. She was looking at her phone. Jean. She didn't look up. What? Are we ordering for me? She tapped something on her screen, then set the phone down. We already ordered. Harry blinked. I haven't eaten all day. Then you should have eaten lunch. Roxy laughed, sharp and quick, like a bark. You're a grown man, Harry. You'll survive. The waiter shifted his weight, uncomfortable. Sir, would you like to? He's fine, Jean said, waving a hand. We're good. Thanks. The waiter hesitated, then nodded and walked away. Harry sat there, hands resting on the edge of the table. His stomach twisted, not from hunger anymore, from something else. The blonde looked uncomfortable. The brunette studied her napkin. Roxy sipped her wine, smiling like she'd won something. Jean scrolled through her phone again, completely unbothered. Harry's pulse thudded in his ears. Not fast. Slow. Steady. The kind of rhythm that came before a decision. He thought about his father, years ago, sitting at a table much like this one. Thought about the way his mother used to serve him last. Always, like he was an afterthought. Thought about the way his father never said a word, just ate quietly and left the room when the meal was done. Harry had promised himself he wouldn't be that man. Excuse me, Harry said. Jean glanced up. What? I need to use the restroom. She waved him off. Fine. Hurry back. Harry stood. He didn't walk toward the restrooms. He walked toward the front door. No one noticed at first. Not until he was halfway across the dining room. Then Roxy's voice cut through the low hum of conversation. Where's he going? Jean turned, frowning. Harry. He didn't stop. He pushed through the front door, into the cold night air, and kept walking toward his truck. Behind him, the door opened again. Jean's voice followed. Harry, get back here. He unlocked his truck, climbed in, started the engine. Jean reached the driver's side window, pounding on the glass. What are you doing? Harry lowered the window halfway. Going home. You can't just leave. I can. Harry, don't do this. Don't embarrass me. He looked at her through the glass. Her makeup was still perfect. Her dress still pristine. She looked angry, but not worried. Not sorry. You humiliated me first, he said quietly. What? I worked 12 hours. I came here because you told me to. And you didn't order me food. You're overreacting. I'm not eating nothing, Harry said, voice steady. And I'm not paying for nothing. Her eyes widened. You said you covered dinner. That was before. Before what? Before you treated me like I don't matter. Jean's face flushed. Harry, get back inside. Right now. No. This is ridiculous. Yeah, Harry said. It is. He raised the window, put the truck in reverse, and backed out of the space. Jean stood there in the parking lot, arms crossed, shouting something he couldn't hear through the glass. He drove home in silence, hands steady on the wheel. His phone buzzed 6 times before he pulled into his driveway. He didn't look at it. Inside the house, he made himself a sandwich, turkey, cheese, mustard, and ate it standing at the counter. It tasted fine, nothing special, but it was his. He didn't feel victorious. He felt tired. The restaurant closed at 10. Harry knew this because Jean called him at 10:07. He didn't answer. She called again at 10:09. Again at 10:12. At 10:15, a text came through. You bastard. Harry set his phone on the nightstand and turned off the lamp. At 10:47, his phone rang again. Not Jean this time. An unknown number. He answered. Yeah. Mr. Hartman? A man's voice. Professional. Tired. This is Daniel, the manager at River Steakhouse. We've had a situation here tonight. Harry sat up. What kind of situation? Your party, your wife, and her guests. They don't have a way to pay the bill. The card on file declined, and they're saying you were supposed to handle it. I left hours ago. I understand that, sir. But the bill is $380, and we need to resolve this. Harry's jaw tightened. I'm not paying for food I didn't eat. A pause. Sir, I'm not trying to make this difficult, but they ordered without me. They made it clear I wasn't part of the meal. I'm not responsible. Another pause. Longer this time. Okay, I understand. But that leaves us with a problem. What problem? They can't leave until the bill is settled. Harry almost laughed. So what are you telling me? I'm telling you, Daniel said carefully, that we have options. One of them involves the police. Another involves working out an alternative arrangement. What kind of arrangement? They work off the bill. Dishes, cleaning, whatever it takes. It's not ideal, but it's legal, and it settles the debt. Harry was quiet for a long time. Mr. Hartman? Yeah, Harry said. I'm here. So what do you want me to do? Harry thought about Jean's face in the parking lot. The way she'd pounded on his window. The way she'd ordered for everyone but him, then expected him to pay. Let them work, Harry said. Daniel exhaled. You're sure? I'm sure. All right. I'll let them know. Thanks. Harry hung up. He lay back down, pulled the blanket over himself, and closed his eyes. This time he slept. It was after midnight when Jean came home. Harry heard the front door slam, heard her heels, sharp, angry, on the hardwood, heard her drop her purse on the kitchen counter. Then silence. He waited. She appeared in the bedroom doorway a moment later, still in her black dress, but now it was wrinkled, stained with something dark near the hem. Her hair was a mess. Her makeup smeared. She looked like she'd been through hell. You left me there, she said. Harry sat up slowly. I left before the food came. You knew what would happen. No, I didn't. We had to wash dishes, Harry, for hours. Do you understand? Hours. I understand. Roxy's hands are raw. Amy's dress is ruined. And it's your fault. Harry stood, walked past her into the kitchen. He poured himself a glass of water, drank it slowly. Jean followed. Say something. What do you want me to say? I want you to apologize. Harry set the glass down. For what? For leaving us there. For humiliating me in front of my friends. You humiliated me first. Oh my God. She laughed, but it was bitter, hollow. You're really going to play the victim here? I'm not playing anything. You are. You're acting like I did something terrible when all I did was not order me food, Harry said. While I worked 12 hours. While I was starving. While you sat there with your sister and your friends and treated me like I didn't exist. Jean's face twisted. You're so dramatic. Am I? Yes. It was one meal, Harry. One meal. And you turned it into this scene. You made me look like a fool. You did that yourself. She stepped closer, voice rising. You think you're so much better than me, don't you? You think because you work some dead-end job that you're more righteous. More. I think, Harry said quietly, that you don't respect me. That stopped her. She stared at him, mouth half open, searching for words. You haven't respected me in years, Harry continued. And tonight just made it obvious. That's not true. It is. Harry, I'm done, Jean. Her eyes narrowed. Done with what? This. He gestured between them. All of it. She laughed again, but this time it was shaky. You don't mean that. I do. You're just upset. You'll get over it. No, Harry said. I won't. She stepped even closer, jabbing a finger into his chest. You wouldn't survive without me. Harry looked down at her hand, then back at her face. Don't touch me again. Or what? Or this marriage ends tonight. She froze. Harry held her gaze, steady, unflinching. I mean it, Jean. Touch me like that again, and we're done. Right here, right now. For a moment, she didn't move. Then slowly, she lowered her hand. You're being ridiculous, she whispered. Harry walked past her, back toward the bedroom. I'm going to sleep. You can stay, or you can go. I don't care anymore. He closed the door behind him. Jean didn't follow. Jean was gone when Harry woke up. Her side of the bed untouched. Her makeup bag missing from the bathroom counter, half her clothes pulled from the closet. He stood in the doorway, staring at the empty hangers. She'd left in the middle of the night. Quietly, without saying goodbye. Good. Harry showered, dressed, made coffee. The house felt different without her. Lighter, somehow. Emptier, yes, but in a way that didn't hurt. It felt like breathing after holding your breath too long. He checked his phone. 3 missed calls from Roxy. 2 voicemails from numbers he didn't recognize. And 1 text from Jean. I'm staying with Roxy. Don't contact me. Harry deleted the message without replying. You want to work. Clocked in. Lifted boxes. Stacked pallets. Moved inventory from one side of the warehouse to the other, then back again. The work was mindless, repetitive, exhausting. but it kept him grounded. Lunchtime came. He ate in his truck, leftover chicken, an apple, a bottle of water. One of his coworkers, Pete, knocked on the window. "You good?" Pete asked when Harry rolled it down. "Yeah. What?" "You've been quiet all morning." "Just tired." Pete nodded slowly. "Heard your wife moved out." Harry frowned. "How'd you hear that?" "Small world, man. My girlfriend knows Roxy's friend. Apparently the whole thing blew up last night." "It did. You want to talk about it?" "Not really." Pete shrugged. "Fair enough. Just know I'm here if you need anything." "Thanks." Harry finished his lunch in silence. By the end of the day, 3 more coworkers had asked if he was okay. Word traveled fast. Too fast. That night, he stopped at the grocery store. He needed basics: bread, milk, eggs, coffee. Things Gene usually bought, but never with his input, never asking what he wanted. He stood in the cereal aisle for a full minute, staring at the options, realizing he didn't even know what kind he liked. Gene had always just grabbed the same box. Some organic, overpriced thing she swore was healthier. Harry grabbed a different box. Something with marshmallows and bright colors. Something he remembered from childhood. It felt stupid, but it also felt like winning. At home, he cooked dinner. Pasta, Jared sauce, nothing fancy. He ate at the kitchen table instead of in front of the TV, phone face down beside him. It buzzed twice during the meal. He didn't check it. When he finally did, after cleaning his plate and washing the dishes, he saw a text from his brother, Lucas. "Heard about Gene. You okay?" Harry called him. Lucas answered on the first ring. "Hey, talk to me." "I'm fine." "You're not fine. What happened?" Harry told him. The whole story. The restaurant, the fight, Gene leaving in the middle of the night. He kept his voice even, factual, like he was reporting on someone else's life. Lucas was quiet for a moment. "So she just didn't order you food?" "Yeah." "And then expected you to pay?" "Yeah." "And then blamed you when she had to work it off?" "Yeah." Lucas let out a low whistle. "That's cold, man. It's been cold for a while. Why didn't you say something sooner?" Harry hesitated. "I don't know. I guess I thought it would get better." "Did it?" "No." Lucas sighed. "So what now?" "I don't know yet." "You filing for divorce?" "Maybe. Probably." "Need a lawyer?" "I might. I know a guy. Good guy. Won't rob you blind. Want me to send you his info?" "Yeah," Harry said. "Send it." They talked for a few more minutes, then hung up. Harry saved the lawyer's contact information, then set his phone aside. He felt strange. Not sad. Not angry. Just hollow. Like something had been carved out of him, and he was still figuring out what was missing. He went to bed early. 3 days later, Gene's story started spreading. Harry first heard about it from Pete. "Hey, man," Pete said during their break, voice low. "You hearing what people are saying?" "About what?" "About you and Gene." Harry tensed. "What are they saying?" Pete shifted uncomfortably. "Look, I don't believe it. But people are talking. Saying you were controlling. That you kept her from having money. That you scared her." Harry's jaw tightened. "Who's saying that?" "I don't know. It's just going around. Social media, I think." Harry pulled out his phone and opened Gene's profile. She'd posted that morning. A photo of her and Roxy, arms around each other, both looking somber. The caption read, "Sometimes you have to walk away to find yourself again. Thank you to everyone who's supported me through this difficult time. I'm stronger than I thought. Hashtag survivor not victim. Hashtag new beginnings." The comments were full of sympathy. "You're so brave. Stay strong, girl. Men like that don't change. You did the right thing." Harry scrolled further. More posts. Vague references to emotional abuse. Screenshots of text messages, his texts cropped and taken out of context. One where he'd said, "We can't afford that right now," presented like he was withholding money. Another where he'd said, "I need some space tonight," presented like he was isolating her. She was building a narrative, and people were believing it. Harry called Lucas. "Have you seen Gene's social media?" "Yeah," Lucas said grimly. "I saw. She's lying." "I know. What do I do?" "Nothing. Don't engage. Don't respond. Don't give her ammunition. People think I'm abusive. Some people will. But the people who matter, your real friends, your family, they know better." "Do they?" Lucas paused. "Some of them will believe her at first. That's how these things work. But the truth comes out eventually." "Eventually isn't now." "I know. But trust me, Harry. Don't respond. Let her burn herself out. If you fight back publicly, you'll look guilty. Harry wanted to argue, wanted to post his own side of the story, wanted to show the world what she'd really done. But he didn't. He deleted the app from his phone and went back to work. By the end of the week, Harry had lost 2 friends. One texted him a long, disappointed message about how abuse is never okay and how Jean deserved better. Another just stopped replying altogether. His cousin Rachel unfriended him on social media. His aunt called to ask if the rumors were true. No, Harry said. They're not. Jean seemed so sincere, his aunt said carefully. She's lying. Harry, I've known you your whole life. I just want to make sure. I never hurt her, Harry said, voice hard. Not once. Not ever. His aunt was quiet. Okay, I believe you. But Harry could hear the doubt in her voice. That night, Harry sat on his couch, staring at the wall. The house was too quiet. His phone was too quiet. The world had decided who he was without asking. He thought about responding, thought about fighting back, thought about telling everyone the truth. But Lucas's voice echoed in his head. Don't engage. So he didn't. He just sat there alone and waited. The divorce papers arrived on a Tuesday. Harry stared at the envelope for a long time before opening it. Official, legal, cold. Inside, the language was clinical, detached. Jean was filing on grounds of emotional abuse, financial manipulation, and intimidation. She wanted the house. She wanted half of the small landscaping business Harry had started before they even met. She wanted spousal support. She wanted her legal fees covered. She wanted everything. Harry read through the pages slowly, carefully, each demand itemized, each accusation laid out in neat, professional language. The respondent subjected the petitioner to a pattern of controlling behavior, including but not limited to. None of it was true. Harry set the papers on the table and called the lawyer Lucas had recommended. His name was Robert Jennings. He sounded older, calm, experienced. Mr. Hartman, he said, tell me what happened. Harry did. All of it. The restaurant, the fight, the posts, the lies. Robert listened without interrupting. When Harry finished, Robert was quiet for a moment. Do you have proof? Robert asked. Proof of what? That she's lying. Texts, receipts, witnesses. Anything that contradicts her story. Harry thought, I have bank statements. They'll show I didn't control the money. Good. What else? I have texts. Some of them show her admitting she didn't order me food. Admitting it was intentional. Better. What about witnesses? The restaurant. The manager, the waiter. They saw what happened. Perfect. Can you get security footage? Maybe. Try. And I'll need access to everything. Bank records, phone records, emails. If she's building a false narrative, we need to dismantle it completely. Can we win? Robert paused. That depends. Do you have any history of violence? Any arrests, restraining orders, anything she could use? No, nothing. Good. Then yes, we can win. But it's going to be ugly. It's already ugly. It's going to get worse. Harry exhaled. All right. One more thing, Robert said. Don't respond to her. Don't argue. Don't defend yourself publicly. Anything you say can and will be used against you. Understand? I understand. Good. I'll file a response. We'll start gathering evidence. And we'll see you in court. Harry hung up and sat back in his chair. The fight was just beginning. The courthouse was smaller than Harry expected. Plain brick exterior, worn steps, a single security checkpoint inside. It felt less like a place of justice and more like a place of paperwork, a building designed to process problems, not solve them. Harry arrived 15 minutes early. Robert met him in the lobby, carrying a leather briefcase and wearing a suit that looked expensive but not flashy. Ready? Robert asked. No. Robert smiled faintly. That's normal. Just remember, stay calm, answer honestly, don't let her get under your skin. What if I want to get under hers? Don't. That's my job. They walked into the courtroom together. It was small, quiet, and intimidating in a way Harry hadn't anticipated. The judge's bench loomed at the front, dark wood and authority. The walls were bare except for a clock and an American flag. The air smelled faintly of old paper and floor polish. Jean was already there, sitting at the opposite table with her lawyer. A woman in her 50s, sharp-eyed and severe, dressed in a gray pantsuit that matched her expression. Jean wore a pale blue dress, modest and soft. Her hair was pulled back. Her makeup was light, almost unnoticeable. She looked fragile, vulnerable, like someone who'd been through hell and barely survived. Harry knew it was an act. She didn't look at him when he sat down, just stared straight ahead, hands folded in her lap. Robert leaned over and whispered, "She's playing the victim. Don't react." Harry nodded. The bailiff entered. "All rise." Everyone stood. The judge entered, a man in his 60s, gray hair, reading glasses perched on his nose. He sat, gestured for everyone else to sit, and opened a folder. "Good morning," he said. "This is the matter of Hartman versus Hartman. I've reviewed the filings. Mrs. Hartman, you're the petitioner. Your attorney may proceed." Jean's lawyer stood. "Thank you, Your Honor. My client is seeking dissolution of marriage on the grounds of emotional abuse and financial coercion. Over the course of their marriage, Mr. Hartman subjected Mrs. Hartman to a pattern of controlling behavior designed to isolate her and limit her autonomy." The words felt rehearsed, clinical. The lawyer gestured to Jean as she spoke, painting her as a victim, fragile and trapped. "Mrs. Hartman will testify to incidents where Mr. Hartman withheld financial resources, restricted her access to friends and family, and created an environment of fear through intimidation and emotional manipulation." Harry's jaw tightened. Robert placed a hand on his arm, a silent reminder. "Don't react." The judge looked at Jean. "Mrs. Hartman, would you like to give your testimony?" Jean stood slowly, like it took effort. She walked to the witness stand, was sworn in, and sat down. Her lawyer approached. "Mrs. Hartman, can you describe the nature of your marriage?" Jean's voice was soft, trembling. At first, it was good. Harry was kind, attentive. But over time, things changed. How so? He became controlling. He wanted to know where I was all the time, who I was with, what I was spending money on. Harry wanted to laugh. She was describing herself. "Can you give an example?" "He wouldn't let me buy things, even small things. He said we couldn't afford it, but he was spending money on his business, on tools, on things for himself." "Did he ever physically harm you?" "No, but he scared me." "How?" Jean paused, eyes welling with tears. "He had this way of looking at me, like I didn't matter, like I was nothing. And when I tried to leave, he'd say things that made me feel like I couldn't survive without him." "Can you describe a specific incident?" Jean nodded. "One night, we went to dinner. I invited my sister and some friends. We were having a nice time, and then Harry just left, walked out without saying a word. He left us there with the bill, knowing we couldn't pay. We had to work it off, washing dishes, for hours." The lawyer's voice sharpened. "He left you to work off a bill?" "Yes." "Why do you think he did that?" "To punish me, to humiliate me." Harry's fists clenched onto the table. The lawyer continued. "And when you confronted him later, he threatened me. He said if I touched him, the marriage was over. He said I wouldn't survive without him." The courtroom was silent. Jean wiped her eyes. "I was terrified." The judge watched her carefully. "Thank you, Mrs. Hartman. Mr. Jennings, you may cross-examine." Robert stood, buttoning his jacket. He approached the witness stand slowly, deliberately. "Mrs. Hartman," he began, voice calm. "You said your husband controlled the finances. Is that correct?" "Yes." "And yet, you had access to the bank accounts, didn't you?" Jean hesitated. He monitored them." "That's not what I asked. Did you have access? Could you withdraw money?" "Technically, yes, but—" "So you weren't cut off from funds." He made me feel like I was. Robert nodded slowly. "I see. And this dinner you mentioned, the one where Mr. Hartman left. Who invited whom?" "I invited him." "Did you ask if he wanted to go?" Jean frowned. "I told him we were going." "Told him, not asked. It was already planned." "By you?" "Yes." "And when you arrived at the restaurant, did you order food for your husband?" Jean's face tightened. "No. Why not? I didn't think about it." "You didn't think about it, even though he'd worked a 12-hour shift and hadn't eaten all day." "I didn't know that." "Did you ask?" "No." "So you invited him to dinner, didn't order him food, and then expected him to pay for your meal and your guests' meals." "He said he would." "Before or after you didn't order him food?" Jean didn't answer. Robert let the silence hang. Then he turned to the judge. Your Honor, I'd like to submit evidence. He returned to his table and pulled out a folder. These are bank statements for the past 3 years. They show Mrs. Hartman had full access to joint accounts. She withdrew funds regularly, made purchases regularly, and was never restricted. He handed copies to the judge and Jean's lawyer. Additionally, Robert continued, I have text messages between Mr. and Mrs. Hartman. He pulled out printed screenshots. In this exchange, dated the day after the restaurant incident, Mrs. Hartman admits she didn't order food from Mr. Hartman intentionally. She states it was meant to teach him a lesson. Jean's face went pale. Robert approached the witness stand again. Mrs. Hartman, did you send these messages? I don't remember. You don't remember texting your husband that you didn't order him food on purpose? I was upset. That's not an answer. Jean looked at her lawyer, desperate. The judge intervened. Mrs. Hartman, please answer the question. Jean swallowed. Yes, I sent them. Robert nodded. So you admit you intentionally excluded your husband from a meal? It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? I was trying to make a point. What point? That he needed to appreciate what I did for him. By humiliating him in front of your friends. No, by leaving him hungry after a 12-hour shift. I didn't mean. And when he left, you were upset. Not because you were worried about him, but because you had to face the consequences of your actions. Jean's eyes filled with tears again. You're twisting everything. I'm stating facts, Mrs. Hartman. Robert turned to the judge. Your Honor, I also have security footage from the restaurant that night. It shows Mr. Hartman leaving calmly, without aggression. And it shows Mrs. Hartman yelling at staff members afterward. He handed over a USB drive. This footage contradicts Mrs. Hartman's narrative of intimidation and fear. The judge accepted the drive. I'll review this. Robert returned to the witness stand. Mrs. Hartman, you claimed your husband threatened you. Can you explain what he said exactly? He said if I touched him again, the marriage was over. If you touched him again, so you'd already touched him? I pushed him, but only because. So you physically pushed your husband, and when he told you not to do it again, you interpreted that as a threat? He was trying to control me, or he was setting a boundary. It wasn't like that. What was it like then? Jean didn't answer. Robert stepped back. No further questions. Jean left the stand, visibly shaken. The judge looked at Harry. Mr. Hartman, you may testify. Harry stood, walked to the witness stand, was sworn in, and sat down. Robert approached. Mr. Hartman, can you describe your marriage? Harry spoke carefully, keeping his voice steady. At first, it was good, but over time, Jean stopped respecting me. She made decisions without me, spent money without talking to me, treated me like I was in the way. Can you describe the night at the restaurant? I worked a 12-hour shift. I was exhausted. Jean texted me to come to dinner. I went straight from work. When I got there, she didn't order me food. When I asked why, she said I'd survive. Her sister laughed. I felt humiliated. So you left? Yes. Did you raise your voice? No. Did you threaten anyone? No. I just walked out. And later, when your wife confronted you at home? Harry hesitated. She was angry. She blamed me for what happened. She pushed me. I told her not to touch me again, or the marriage was over. That's all I said. Were you trying to intimidate her? No. I was setting a boundary. Did you ever hit her? No. Threaten her? No. Control her financially? No. She had access to everything. Robert nodded. Thank you, Mr. Hartman. Jean's lawyer stood for cross-examination. Mr. Hartman, isn't it true that you started a business without consulting your wife? I started it before we were married, but you continued it during the marriage. Yes. And you kept the profits separate. It was my business, so you did control finances. I kept what was mine. She had access to our joint accounts, but not to your business accounts. Correct. That sounds like control to me. Harry stayed calm. It sounds like owning a business. The lawyer's expression tightened. No further questions. The judge leaned back, removing his glasses. I'll take a brief recess to review the evidence. 30 minutes later, the judge returned. I've reviewed the bank statements, text messages, and security footage, he said. I've also considered the testimonies. He looked at Jean, then at Harry. This court finds no evidence of abuse, financial coercion, or intimidation. The incident at the restaurant, while unfortunate, does not constitute grounds for the claims made by Mrs. Hartman. Jean's face crumpled. Accordingly, the judge continued, the petition for spousal support is denied. The request for a share of Mr. Hartman's business is denied. The house will be divided according to equitable distribution laws, with Mr. Hartman retaining primary ownership based on his financial contributions. He closed the folder. This marriage is dissolved. Both parties are free to go. The gavel came down. Jean stared at the judge, stunned. Her lawyer whispered something, but Jean didn't respond. Harry stood slowly, feeling nothing. Robert shook his hand. That's as good as it gets. Yeah, Harry said quietly. They walked out together, leaving Jean sitting at the table, frozen. 6 months later, Harry sat on his back porch, eating dinner he'd cooked himself. Grilled chicken, roasted vegetables, a cold beer beside his plate. The sun was setting over the trees, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Crickets chirped in the grass. The air was warm, comfortable. The house was quiet. Harry didn't mind anymore. In the months since the divorce, life had settled into a rhythm. He still worked at the distribution center, still lifted boxes and stacked pallets. But he'd also picked up more landscaping clients. The business was growing, slowly but steadily. He bought new furniture for the living room, painted the bedroom, fixed the leaky faucet Jean had complained about for years but never let him repair. The house felt like his now. He heard from Lucas occasionally. His brother checked in, made sure Harry was doing okay. Pete at work still invited him to grab drinks after shifts. A few friends had come back around, apologized for believing Jean's story, admitted they should have known better. Harry didn't hold it against them. People believed what they wanted to believe. Jean had moved in with Roxy. The last Harry heard, she was working part-time at a boutique, still posting vague, inspirational quotes on social media. The victim narrative had faded. People moved on, found new drama to talk about. Harry had moved on too. He finished his dinner, cleaned his plate, and sat back down on the porch with his beer. The sky was darker now, stars beginning to appear. He thought about that night at the restaurant. The moment he'd stood up and walked away. The moment he'd decided he was worth more than how she treated him. He didn't regret it. Not for a second. Harry took a sip of his beer, leaned back in his chair, and watched the stars come out. The house was quiet, and for the first time in years, that felt like peace.